Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes. You know, at first it was March Madness. Now it's April of aggression. The aggression is coming. The NFL draft is next week. So we got a lot to get into tonight as we talk about our early thoughts about the draft. Then we got the NBA playoffs. So, you know, we got some talking to do there. And I know all of y'all out there, or at least 90% of y'all, are happy to see old man LeBron against old man KD for some strange reason. But y'all enjoy that. Y'all enjoy that. But this is the sounds of Sports Reports Disordered coming through your speaker. He is the one and only world famous, world renowned Mr. Logical. Down here in the Alamo, I'm your unorthodox statistician, 2-5. Liquid death in my hand. There should be one in your hand. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. We are everywhere that you get your podcast. And of course, as always, say less, say more. Check us out. Anyway, Mr. Logical.
Yes.
Ooh, it's getting a little nipply. You know, we got the draft coming through. You know, next week, you know, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Fernando Mendoza is going to go number 1 to the Raiders. But 1, do you think that's a foregone conclusion? 2, should it be a foregone conclusion? 3, what would you do if you were the Raiders?
I would just go with, just do it. Just pull the trigger on the quarterback. Hope that the quarterback coach can grow together. You, like I said, you're already 4th in your division, just off of pure talent, recent history. You're 4th in your division. You don't have time to be trying to make like the best strategic move. I think sometimes you just got to make the simplest move, and that's the move in front of you. Unless somebody calls you with a real 2027 draft haul, like what the Panthers gave up, or like you get a call like that where who's a quarterback hungry team? Hell, even the Jets. If the Jets go Arizona that year to move from 2 to 1, do it. But if you don't get that call, I think you just look at, all right, what do we have? Who's the best player available? Do we have any assets? I'm not sure what the Max Crosby trading value is. Maybe you have to peel that back and say, hey, we'll take a 1st and a 3rd now from any other team that's willing to make that trade. You just got to make some concessions because you are right now, without a doubt, 4th in your division. You're rebuilding. You're paying probably 4 to 5 former coaches on top of your current coach. Like your team in disarray, but you have the luxury of at least being in Vegas, at least being able to sell out because you are in Vegas. So take advantage of that. Put the best show you can put on the field and really start this rebuild.
So, you know, as I was thinking about this, I was thinking a couple of things. Next year is the year of the quarterback. You know, as I look through this draft, you know, like
next year, the years of quarterback.
Well, look at the quarterbacks in this draft. Like, you're not excited about Haynes King. You're not excited about Carson Beck. You're not excited about Cole Payton, even though the media is.
You weren't excited about Tyler Shuck, but it seems like the Saints might be.
Maybe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not excited about Diego Pavia. You're not excited about Miller Moss or Sawyer Robertson. You're not excited about any of those dudes. So that's why, like, if you value Fernando Mendoza, I think you at least call the Raiders because, he's probably the most accurate quarterback in the draft. He did lead some game-winning drives, so we saw him under pressure last year. The big throw, obviously better catch against Penn State. They went on to win the national title. So if you are the Raiders and you do draft Fernando Mendoza, I would think that you want to draft Elijah Surratt in the 3rd round or so, sort of like the Bo Nix, Troy Franklin thing. Get that college teammate in there, the guy that he's comfortable with a little bit to help ease that transition. But, there's been rumors. I don't know how true they are because, it's draft time. So everything's
a lie.
Right. So there's been rumors that Harvin Marison Jr., for example, might be on the market. So if you're trying to trade a Harvin Marison, I call the Raiders with that and see if they want to play ball because whoever the Raiders want to start at quarterback going to need a weapon.
The guy you just drafted a couple of years ago and you're ready to move off of him, the most I might haul at you back is a 3rd, maybe a 4th. The Raiders always seem to stockpile picks.
Well, the only other quarterback
I'm not giving you anything top flight.
The only other quarterback that I think could go in the 1st round, just off of first thought, is Ty Simpson. He's the next quarterback, I think, in the hierarchy. Maybe, I don't think you're going to reach for Cade Klubnik. I don't think you're going to reach for Drew Aller, even though they came into this past season with a lot of the hype. Drew Aller coming off the ACL, Klubnik, got hurt and got benched at times throughout the year. So I just don't see it. But if you look at next year, Mr. Logical, this next year is the ransom of quarterbacks, because I can think of 5 off the top of my head that are probably better than the quarterbacks in this draft, to include Fernando Mendoza. So with Fernando Mendoza, I see a guy that you look at and maybe he's a winner, he's solid. But just looking at next year, you got Arch, you got Darian Mensah, you got Sam Levitt. Provided that he stays healthy. You got Julian Sayin, CJ Carr, you know what I mean? So, I don't know if you reach for the quarterback this year.
I don't think you're reaching. I think you're just kind of playing it the way you need to play it.
Well, it just depends because if you're drafting a quarterback, then theoretically what you're saying is, I believe this guy, especially at number 1, I believe that this guy can lead us for the next 10 to 12 years. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't answer that question, if you can't say that,
it's not logical. It's not a logical.
It is logical.
No, there hasn't been a team. Let's go back. What is it? We're 2026. We're about to start 2026, 2027 season. Who got drafted in 2014? That's still on their team. Who got drafted in 2016? That's still on their team. Who got drafted in 2018? That's still on their team.
Lamar, is Trevor Lawrence still on his team?
You got Trevor Lawrence.
Is Justin Herbert still on his team? No, I'm just saying though. But you know what I mean. You're halfway there. Dak Prescott still on his team,
but he was a 4th round pick. He wasn't expected to have this expectation of 10 to 12 years. I hear that a lot with pundits because it's like I get the sentiment behind it. Is this guy your future? But we've seen it play out to where none of these guys are the future. It's only about a handful of guys.
I think we're talking about 2 different things. I think we're talking about 2 different things. Do
you go with the guy right now that you think is the best play for right now?
I think we're talking about 2 different things. So whether somebody pans out or not is a whole different conversation. But at the time that I'm drafting you in the top 5, my thought is not, hey, I'm going to draft this dude, and then 4 years later he'll be gone. I would just trade back. I would just trade back or get another position.
If you're in a position of where trading back, if you are, let's do a quick.
And I don't think you should draft a quarterback just to draft a quarterback.
let's say you're a team like Cincinnati.
Okay.
Cincinnati is in a tough division where injured quarterback, bad defensive play had them teetering. Like they could have gone on a streak and made the playoffs. They're a team that if they would have ended up with like 4 or 5 because of the injuries, it's like, well, we have people coming back. We can make a couple of moves that are going to change things. The Raiders need to start something. And I think if you don't have any questions about the guy at number 1, just take him because he answers all your questions for right now. You don't have the stability because, like, if you think about the Raiders 5 years ago, they're a completely different team. So, like, the expectation, like, I need to get a guy for my next 10 years. Like, no, get the guy that fits right now that you can say, you know what, I think we can build around him. Instead of like trying to, I think having a number 1 pick, I think teams put themselves in a position where like they overthink it. And like, remember they talk about CJ Stroud over Bryce Harper in back and forth.
Bryce Young, yeah.
Bryce Young when he had like a bad little run and then CJ was doing his thing. Now we're seeing it kind of balance out. Just go with your guy. Like if you get him in the building and it works, don't think about 10 or 12 years. Think about like, can we make this work over the next few years? Can we make a turnaround? Because the NFL is notorious for being able to go from worst to first.
Yes, but if you go back and look at things through the years, the successful teams are the teams that have their quarterbacks for long periods of time. You know,
but they
whether
also get them young and they're ready to play and they play them on a rookie contract. They just have to make other better moves.
They got to surround him. There's no point to draft him if you're not going to surround him. And they got Ashton Genty.
You have the chess move right in front of you, which is just take the queen. Just take it. Understand, like it might not be the greatest strategy right now, but do that right now. You have that definitive move right now. Take Fernando. I'm not saying he's a queen, but it's a chess reference.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. Take him right now, and like, hey, I have a good, solid quarterback. Obviously, he's good with the media. He's good with his teammates. He seems to have a level of maturity that can take a couple of bad losses. He's not going to go to the podium and shit on his teammates and build. I think that is more valuable than thinking like, oh, I don't know if this guy's going to be here in 8 years.
So the good news is
3 years was good idea.
The good news theoretically is that they hired Clint Kubiak as their head coach. So quarterback whisperer, if you will. We saw what he did with Sam Darnold this year. We saw that, before Derek Carr got hurt the year prior in New Orleans, those first 2 games, they were on pace for one of the best offenses in NFL history. Ask the Cowboys about him. So like that's a guy that you would like to have as you're bringing in this young quarterback. So I can get with that.
Give him an actual, because we've seen it happen the last few years where you get a new coach, offensive coach. You always need top flight defensive players. You're never gonna go broke taking a profit. You're never gonna go broke taking a top tier interior lineman or defensive lineman to build your B line around to cause havoc in the backfield. Like you're never gonna lose there. But you can still lose games 17-13 because you don't have the quarterback that can score points. Ask the Broncos when they had Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? Like they were only giving up like 17 points. If they could have scored, they were only giving up like 16.9 points. If they could have scored 17, they had one more game. So like,
and to your point, they did go get Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. So so they started to address that because their defense was nothing but Max Crosby. And, and now he's got the meniscus issue. We saw him get traded to Baltimore and then that fell apart. So who knows what he looks like this year.
Maybe you work him back in the fold. Maybe you let him rehab
or maybe there's a draft night move there.
Or maybe you say, hey, we'll have you on the PUP list for the first 4 to 6 weeks. Either you heal or somebody else, loses defensive end through injury, or like a guy that they drafted doesn't pan out, and maybe a team like, I don't know, let's say Indianapolis calls you October 1st and hey, what's up with Max Crosby? We got a couple of picks we want to see if we can get him into the fold. I mean, there's
or I'm a team like the Raiders and I'm not a quarterback away. You know what I mean? And they just brought in Kirk Cousins.
They're not a quarterback away.
So maybe, so like I said, maybe I trade down and, maybe I do get into, if I were the Raiders, maybe I would trade down, get into next year's draft, you know what I mean? And holler at one of these guys. Because I didn't even mention.
We've seen that backfire recently where it's like.
No, I mean, it's going to work or it's not. You know what I'm saying? No matter who you are, it's going to work or it's not.
I got this veteran in. If you hoping he turns into Sam Darnold, then that's icing on the proverbial.
Yeah, they tried that with Geno Smith last year,
and it didn't work. So
it didn't work.
Let's just go with the young guy, get mentored by the old guy. If the young guy's not ready, he's not ready.
We'll see. You know what I mean? But as we look forward here, and I meant to pull this up earlier, but let's go ahead and do that now. So as we're sitting here, Mr. Logical, looking at the draft order here, are there any teams here that stand out to you in the sense of maybe let's make a deal?
Yeah, I'll get to that, but I want to say this. I was sitting with Rachel and Ava yesterday. We watched some TV. She turned her phone and showed me an Instagram post, and it said that Rory McIlroy has won 2 Masters before the New York Jets have gotten an interception.
That's
nuts. The Jets need to they need to address defense at their spot, so I wouldn't move. Arizona, I mean, once again, you're bottom of your division. Do you have enough in the cupboard to where New Orleans calls you and wants to move from 8-3 because they see something they like? Do you make that move, or do you go with a Cincinnati because it's the AFC? I think if you're Arizona, you make a move. Tennessee, it's tough because you're coming in with a new coach, new coordinator, but previous regime's quarterback. So I think you got to give that a try. So I think you stay there. I think the Giants stay.
Cleveland, I think, could be up for a move.
I think Cleveland's up for a move, but if you're looking at Cleveland's move, it would have to be if somebody slips unexpectedly.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jeremiah Love is still there at 6.
Yeah, because Cleveland and Cleveland has 2 picks in the first round, as do the Jets. So they could do some wheeling and dealing. I think the Jets keep their first pick there. I think they go Arvell Reese out of Ohio State at number 2. Yeah. But if I'm Dallas and I'm at number 12, I believe it is. Yeah, if I'm Dallas and I'm at 12, is it possible that I try to get up there to get Sonny Styles before the Giants get him? That would be one of my first questions because they missed out on the Kobe Dean. Or do you let Ruben Bain slip to you because he just may?
If you believe the 35/8 inch arms or something like that, if that factors into him being productive, if you believe that and you're 1 through 11, then let him fall to you. And then maybe you stand him up. Maybe you get him in space, or maybe say, you know what? Listen, you were productive in Miami. We're going to teach you how to get off of these offensive tackles and use your technique as best you can. Because I get it that all these measurables and all these things happen for a reason, and there's science behind it. But when you put the film on, does he make plays? When it's his time to make plays, does he disrupt the passing game? Does he disrupt the run game? That's all you need from a defensive end.
Is there a team that you look at?
He was considered you should draft him.
Is there a team that you look at and go, they're sitting in a perfect position?
Tampa Bay.
Okay. Say more.
I like Tampa Bay because I think their division's weak.
Okay.
And I believe that, scroll down a little bit because they're at 15. I think that they can I think they can get a phone call from a team like Kansas City. I think they could get a phone call from a team call from Philly. But I think they could get a call and someone move up to 15 because yes, they lost Mike Evans, but obviously it's always a deep wide receiver draft if you have a quarterback that can sling the ball around the field. So whoever you get in the building to play wide receiver, I think you'll be fine in Tampa Bay. I think they're in a good position to where someone's going to want to make a move, and 15 is probably a good spot. And I think that's a good spot for them because, like I said, I think their division. I just look at a team in their division. I think their division is winnable. I don't think Atlanta's going to make enough improvements to where they're guaranteed to get 10 wins. I don't think Carolina's guaranteed to get 10 wins. And I don't think New Orleans is guaranteed to get 10 wins. So if you're Tampa Bay, you're looking like, yo, if we can make a move here and then go from 8 wins to 10 wins, we got this division on lock.
Yeah, and I mean, even with how they ended last year on such a bad note, they still played for the division, the last game of the season. So I was looking at Washington because not because I'm a Washington fan, but just from the standpoint of Washington needs a lot. Whether it's corner, whether it's linebacker, whether it's a running back, whether it's a wide receiver, just anything. So I think Washington can just sit where they are and just react. You know what I mean? So if Carnell Tate is there, you grab him. If Caleb Downs is there, you grab him. If Jeremiah Love's there, you grab him. So I think Washington's in a perfect position to where whoever is left over, because you don't generally want to play the draft that way. Like you want to get the best player available, you want to get all that. But I think they're in a position to where, like, I think Cleveland, for example, if Cleveland could get their hands on Carnell Tate, they should, because they need weaponry at wide receiver. You know what I mean? And you mentioned Cleveland going for Jeremiah Love potentially.
Yeah.
So Cleveland needs that. Washington, I think, doesn't. And Washington only has 6 or 7 draft picks. So to your point, Washington also has the ability to trade back, to get more draft picks for later in the draft and not necessarily miss out on something that's going to hurt themselves.
So with your Cleveland pick, so you said Cleveland have 2. Cleveland might need to protect whoever they started quarterback. More likely, I think all signs are kind of pointing to Shador. I think him and Todd Monken have kind of shown their relationship publicly. They've gone Instagram official. So I think you protect Shador. I think offensive linemen, I think you take that call from Miami, figure out what the haul is, and let Miami move from 11 to 6. I know teams generally probably don't try to go that far, but Miami started with Malik Willis. I doubt they'll move up and take offensive linemen. I don't think Cincinnati's going to move up and try to take offensive
so where I'm interested in that, because, my favorite position is corner. And corner is one of the better positions in this draft. So if you look at, say, me as a Washington fan, I always want a corner. But
you hate the ones that they get every year.
Yes,
that's how I know their names, because you just like, oh goddamn, St. Juice.
But Kansas City, right? They lost both Watson and McDuffie, so they're probably going to be looking corner. Cincinnati just needs some kind of defense. So
you don't think Kansas City? Well, when is Mahomes projected to be back?
That's a good question.
Heard anything publicly? Because
that's a good question.
Early December, late November?
Yeah.
So, not a mobile quarterback, young guy. I've seen videos of him throwing. They might do the who is the best deep threat that we can get to stretch the field, or maybe they go.
See, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah,
the tight end out of Oregon ran the 4.3.
Yeah, Kenyon Sadiq. Yeah,
and I think that's only related to the fact that Kansas City runs a lot of tight ends. With they were running like Noah Gray. And then obviously Kelsey, and then the third tight end.
So if that's the route that you want to go, then if I was Kansas City, because I believe they have 2 first-round draft picks as well. Let's see, I think they have 2, maybe not.
They traded one in the Rams. Looks like,
but like if I'm Kansas City, maybe I'm trying to get into the Jeremiah Love sweepstakes because the one thing Kansas
Kenneth
City.
Walker third.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. My bad. I forgot about that.
But that's another thing. People like, what happens if he ends up fall? I doubt he falls to 9. I just think that you can having that Darren McFadden like talent where you're just a couple of blocks and a missed tackle away from an explosive play. I don't think the Giants let that go unless they're like, you know what, we can get another guy that can run through a hole if we get a good guard.
I don't know if Tennessee lets it go if he's there.
Tennessee needs playmakers. They need guys that
and to take pressure off of Ward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I need a guy like Kyle Pitts going forward tight end is probably scaring teams off of the tight end, but I think they have to take somebody there. I don't think it's going to be that many trees. I think it's going to be a lot of like.
No, we think about that every year, and it never really materializes. Yeah, and but Kenyon Sadiq could end up being that Kyle Pitts kind of guy, and actually delivering on what we wanted from Kyle Pitts.
Like the measurables say, yeah.
Yeah, and then so then as I'm looking around here, because corner Miami might need a corner. Dallas, could use a corner, but depending on what's available. And then, of course, there's the pick that you said set the Falcons back a couple years.
Yeah, that was just a series of unfortunate events.
So if you're the Rams,
get that ironed out.
So if you're the Rams, do you go get Stafford another toy?
I think you do. And I think they got the guy right in their backyard, Mekhi Lemon.
Okay.
His interview was definitely strange. The mannerisms.
Some people have him as the best receiver in the draft.
That's the best, whatever in the draft. I like it if a guy's like. I understand that you have to give someone that title. You have to give each position group the title. You got to rank these guys. I think Stafford can make anybody in that spot the best receiver in this draft. I mean, Puka Nacua is a 5th-round pick. I think Stafford just has the ability to understand. Like I saw a video earlier today of Mohamed Sanu talking about. He was talking to wide receivers. They were like a little training session. He was saying, you got to recognize the coverage. And once you recognize the coverage, you recognize how to run your route into that coverage. So, like if you're looking at cover 2. You're looking at the triangle, like, okay, if it's cover 2, it'll look like this. If it's cover 3, the triangle look like this. He's like an obtuse triangle, an acute triangle, or a right triangle. And he's like, so having a guy like Stafford in the huddle with you, if you're a young wide receiver, he can say something like, listen, man, if they come out cover 2, I want you here on this route. Like Sean McVay's plays are super long. They're like, listen, I want you here. And if you get there, he's going to put the ball on you. So that's the thing. So I don't know.
I think the Jets
in that pick on him, but I believe they will.
Yeah, I think the Jets probably need to go receiver with that second pick at 16 because, like I said, I think they grab Arvell Reese. But I think
their second pick.
They're number 16. No, because they need to get what they've been doing to Garrett Wilson can be labeled as malpractice. You know what I mean? Like they have never really remember last year, it was something like he led them in touchdowns or yards, whichever one it was. And he didn't even play since week 6 or something like that. You know what I mean?
He had like 400 some yards and he led them. But that was also a Justin Fields problem because once again, I guess he just didn't understand the coverage and let the ball go. If I'm the Rams, if I'm the Jets, I go defense again.
Well, you saw who the Jets went out and got at quarterback, right? They went out and got your boy Geno back.
I think Geno is serviceable. I don't want to say serviceable. That's dismissive.
Geno's the guy that gets you the next year.
He can get you something. I think you can get maybe a free agent weapon. I know I saw a report like Juwan out in San Francisco might not be happy. Maybe you have enough money left over to make that move. But if I'm the Jets, I'm trying to create turnovers to where Gino's getting the ball at the 40-yard line. He's getting the ball at midfield. Like he's getting.
Well, they got to work on getting the turnover first.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm going defense. I'm going because using my own team as an example, is a team I paid close attention to as far as like the impact or lack thereof of the defensive line. Corners are great at their job for about 3.5 to 4.9 seconds. If it gets to 5, it's like, yo, dog, it's only so much space I can cover with this guy who's running zigzags and comebacks if you don't get any pressure on. So the quarterback is not consistently in a position of where he feels like he has to get the ball out, then the corner is going to get picked apart. So if I'm the Jet, I'm trying to get pressure on the quarterbacks of the AFC or whoever we match up against the NFC. I'm trying to get pressure on the quarterback. So whatever I can do to create that, that's what I'm going with.
And real quick, it just been announced that Bam Adebayo will not return tonight. He went up for the rebound. LaMelo grabbed the back of his leg, injured back. So Miami's still fighting, though. 5-point game. Charlotte leading with about 1:11 left in the third quarter. But also thinking about running backs again, because as I get down to the later part of the first round here, I start to look at teams like, say, Green Bay, for example. Does Josh Jacobs need somebody beside him potentially?
He needs a 2-back system, because I remember the game against the Ravens where granted it's not a gambling thing, but it's like you needed to get some. You had like they had a good game plan going. I think they were handling the Ravens up front because Malik Willis ended up with 2 rushing touchdowns, but Josh Jacobs couldn't get anything. It's like, all right, are you hurt? Are you injured? Like, what's going on here? So yeah, I feel like he should have made a couple moves.
So if I'm Cleveland, and this is just hypothetical, of course, if I can't get Jeremiah Love with my first pick up there, can I get Jadarian Price with my second pick? Of course, Jadarian Price is his backup from Notre Dame. No lesser than 5.8 yards per carry in his career at Notre Dame, 3 years. He's a kickoff return guy. That kickoff return against USC stands out to me, for example. I think that him and Jeremiah Love are 1-2 as far as the best running backs in this draft. So if I'm Cleveland and I can't get Jeremiah Love there, I'll take the consolation prize at 24, because I don't know how many teams are in the market for a running back right now, because like Baltimore still has Derrick Henry and, their crew, you know what I mean? Tampa has 3 or 4 running backs. The Jets have Breece Hall and I can't think of his name, Braylon Allen. Detroit has Gibbs, but they did lose David Montgomery, but I don't know if Jadarian Price and Gibbs, they kind of do the same thing, I guess.
If it's effective, then it's like being able to punch equally as strong with both hands. Like,
maybe Minnesota. Maybe Minnesota, because they brought back Aaron Jones.
I think the running back devaluation is still probably.
Well, I mean, the good news is they drafted Genty got drafted at number 6 last year, and we're talking about Jeremiah Love potentially going top 7 or top 8. So that's at least a start.
Yeah, but I think some people might have him ranked as like the 3rd best player in the draft. He should.
Yeah.
Like
right.
if all the 230 guys went to the combine, 235, something like that. If he's 3rd, then if you are, we got Vegas, the Jets, and the Cardinals. Yeah, he should be your guy. But if it doesn't, like I said, I'm not saying running back is a luxury, but for some teams it is. I think trench play is where most of these teams lose their battles. You got Cleveland is playing with a young quarterback. One of these 2 first-round picks has to be an offensive lineman. It just has to be. It has to be the best offensive lineman available, because you're playing. Because you have to give Shador a real shot, because it looked as if Kevin Stefanski didn't. Or Deshaun Watson, whoever you start. But either way, one guy's coming off an Achilles he tore twice, and the other guy, granted, had a Pro Bowl rookie year, is still like a work in progress. So either way, protection should be paramount for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah,
the playmaking of Quich Junkins, he did break his leg, but you have Dylan Sampson. I think you can. I'm not saying this should be like your plan, but you can get an undrafted running back that can make waves just because it's NFL, especially if you have the best guard like the guy out of Penn State or even the tackle out of Utah on one side of your line. Like I think you can make something happen with a 4th or 5th round running back if you can open up holes. Pause.
Yeah, I think that I think if I'm Pittsburgh, and they just drafted.
Pittsburgh's gonna get the best defensive lineman no matter what. That's all they're gonna do.
Well, I was thinking. Well, I was thinking because they drafted Will Howard and they're still playing this Aaron Rodgers game. So if I'm Pittsburgh, depending on how I feel about Will Howard, I might look at a Ty Simpson right there. That would be the next team because I don't think the Cardinals obviously are going to take them at number 3. So like Pittsburgh, I think is the next realistic shot to get a quarterback off the board. Now Philly is interesting. What does Philly do? We've heard talks about AJ Brown all off season, but I feel like if they were going to move AJ Brown, they would have already. Jalen Hurts conversation, and I don't know who started this smear campaign against him the last couple of weeks. They still have Saquon. They lost Nakobe Dean. So the last 2 years they've been losing things off of their defense. So
correct.
I can't help but think they go defense here, just to kind of shore up that linebacking core or to fill in where Nakobe was.
I think Philly takes a call from Houston.
Okay.
Fleece Houston for a couple extra picks, and then Houston takes whoever they want to take at 23.
Well, Houston better get another lineman.
Philly plays a different level of draft. It used to be the Belichick phone call. Like, don't take a call from a New England area code. Now it's like, don't take that 215 call.
Yeah.
That 215 Philly we live. Don't take that phone call because how we going
the Bears lost DJ Moore, so maybe that could be another spot there for a wide receiver. As you look at San Francisco,
what do you have Tate going? Because I know it was some issues with his. I think he ran a 4.58 or 4.6 at the combine.
I think
it was something about the speed. But his route running ability is going to get him open.
Yeah, his route running ability, his hands, like he probably has the best hands out of all the receivers in the draft this year. So I'm thinking, and so there's a couple of spots that I have in mind. I was thinking, the Giants, if they wanted to go offense to get somebody across from Malik Neighbors, to enhance because Darius Slayton is. Again. They Harbaugh.
Oh, nah, that's not happening.
Then you got Cleveland as a potential.
Lamar would drive up 95 to East Rutherford and slap shit out of Harbaugh. Like, oh, you would take a receiver at 5 for Jackson Dart, but I've been begging for receivers. You get me guys off the nursing home list. Yeah, I think
that's
he's
funny.
Ran up to Baltimore. Pay those
potentially Cleveland. He did play at Ohio State. So potentially Cleveland, if he's there with Washington, that gives you an upgrade to put across from Terry McLaurin.
I think New Orleans is
New Orleans. I was just about to say them, and you have an Ohio State guy already, at receiver. Yeah. So you got that going for you.
I think New Orleans takes him just so Kansas City doesn't even have a shot.
I don't know if Kansas City would take him. I don't think Kansas City would take him. I think Kansas City wants a more, to your point, they want that game breaker kind of guy. Maybe Miami. I doubt it, but possibly Miami. So I don't know. Like, it's but I don't think he drops past Miami. I don't think we're looking at number 15 and we put Carnell Tate on the screen of where's he going to end up. I don't think he lasts that long. But but Mekhi Lemon
that way about Shador last year, and he went to the 5th round. Granted, that was an extreme case. We felt the same way about like just.
But Shador was also a quarterback in a draft that people weren't excited about. I mean, politics aside, people weren't excited about those quarterbacks either. So,
Correct.
you know what I mean? Like Jalen Milroe went in the 4th round, for example, so that was going to happen to somebody. It just ended up being Shador because we were looking at the draft last year going, who's going to take a quarterback? And we said it, like, if Pittsburgh doesn't take him, like, it's going to be a while. We knew that. Now, we didn't know it was going to be 5th round.
Taking a quarterback this year in the 1st round.
We didn't.
Aaron Rodgers is not doing the Jordan Love mentor thing. So Pittsburgh is going to take either a down the field playmaker or like maybe a tight end that can make plays in the middle of the field for Aaron. Because I don't know how, and I don't know what the business logistics were, but DK Metcalf and George Pickens, I'm sitting them down in a room and like, yo, can we work this out? Because I want to tell you something. Look at yourselves. There's not a defensive backfield in the league that can definitively say, oh, we got both of them locked down all game long. Like, I just don't know how that didn't pan out to where at least for...
Well, they didn't even try it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 25-26 is like how that conversation... And that's how I knew Tomlin was done. He was like, you couldn't even broker that deal because, like, come on. Like, think about that. Like, I know CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens was like, that was huge.
Yeah.
But like Metcalf and Pickens, I think it's... I think just the matchup problem that you would have presented with healthy Aaron Rodgers at your quarterback with those two guys, I think it would have been on par or just maybe a little bit more than the Dallas duo. I don't know why that didn't happen, but Pittsburgh's definitely going to take like the best defensive lineman available or the best linebacker.
For all intents and purposes, if I'm Washington, me being a Washington fan, I want either Caleb Downs or Mansour Delane. I think Caleb Downs has potential to be the best player in the draft overall, but there are the reports about
Caleb Downs.
Yeah, there are the reports about his knee. You know what I mean? So maybe he slides a little bit, maybe down to Cincinnati at 10, possibly. But if I can get Mansour Delane, that's what I want. Like you were talking about a guy playing against the SEC, right? Didn't give up more than one catch in a game last year, ran a 4.38 40, 24.1 passer rating when targeted. Give me him. Jamar McCoy is another one that is coming off an injury, but I think of him as a playmaker. He looked good at the, with his testing and everything. You got AJ Terrell's little brother. He's not going to go that high, to Washington, but maybe if I'm sitting there in that range of between, I'd say Dallas and maybe Minnesota, I give a thought to him. I think Chris Johnson is going to be a sleeper out of San Diego State at that position. But here's another name that we haven't said, Mr. Logical.
Talking about the safety out of Toledo.
No, but that's one of my sleepers. That's one of my sleepers. But no, not him. I was going to bring up, we haven't said the name Akeem Messador. You know what I mean? Ruben Bain gets all the love, but there was other parts of that Miami defense that, got them to where they got to. What up, Mike? There was, he was another part of that.
Put on the Ohio State Miami playoff game and just pick any player that's eligible on either side of the ball, and I think you hit a home run. If you put on the all 22, so on each side, if you put it out there and say, hey, we are drafting in the first 15 picks.
Yeah.
You could probably pick any one of the top tier guys from that game, and you're good. From Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, to Ruben Bain, to Sonny Styles, like anybody.
Lorenzo Styles, Arvell Reese, on and on.
Arvell Reese, like on and on. Cardell, like any one of these guys, if you can say, hey, we got one of these guys from that game, I think you have a good pick anywhere from 1 to 20.
And then you got Cassius Howell, SEC Defensive Player of the Year out of A&M, edge rusher. He had 11 and a half sacks last year, which is the most of any Aggie since Myles Garrett. You know what I'm saying? There you go. So, so that's a name to keep an eye on. My guy, Denzel Boston, I was talking about him. So, with the name Boston, it would only be right if he ended up in New England, so that's what I was thinking about that. Jonah Coleman, another running back, from Arizona and Washington. I think he's probably the next best running back after Love and Price.
I got my notes from this one website, and as I was like kind of perusing my notes and piecing mine together, and I got my little Word document, and it gave like a description of these guys, or a comparison. So Ruben Bain, his comparison was Melvin Ingram.
Okay.
4-year guy to Washington. His comparison was. I want to get this right. Hold on.
This is for Delane?
This is for the running back out of Washington.
Oh, Jonah Coleman. Okay.
Jonah Coleman.
Yeah, the comp that I've seen for him is Damian Harris, but I think he's better than that.
I got thick Bucky Irving.
Thick. Okay.
Thick. 2 C's. That's
right,
what someone put on the internet. I was like,
yeah, we getting off of that one.
But I'm
and of course, you know what I mean? I would be remiss before I get to my sleepers. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about those 2 Penn State running backs that I was talking about all last season. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Nick Singleton, even though he's, that 6', 225 guy, he's the game breaker of the 2. So I think that he's one of those guys that his draft stock got hurt a little bit because of the Drew Aller injury, and Penn State's offense just kind of fell back to the pack a little bit. I think people are sleeping on Nick Singleton and then Katron Allen.
Like he was the offense. Like even with the very even though I picked them to go pretty far in the playoffs last year, and I ended up being wrong. I thought that they would send the ball downfield because they have such a threat of the running game, and they just never did it. But he still was productive. So that's a testament. Like I said, new coach. Coach getting fired middle of the season, bad losses, and still being played. But that's the difference with the running back is like so many of these guys can make impact plays in college, and then the NFL is kind of tailoring their offense to college football to where we can get anybody like the old Denver Broncos zone read running. Where it's like, as long as this guy can put his foot in the ground and turn upfield.
Yeah, C.J. Anderson, Orlandis Gary, and then you never heard from him again. But I also I want to keep an eye on Trip Trayum. He started out at Ohio State, but he ended up at Toledo. So, we'll see. But as far as sleepers go, so my first sleeper I wanted to bring up is quarterback, actually. And it's kind of funny because when I thought of him, I thought this is what Anthony Richardson is supposed to be. So, I thought of Taylor Green from Arkansas. 6'6", ran a 4.55, and maybe he doesn't even end up at quarterback. I don't know.
He will be a wide receiver.
But he's a football player. I think he could.
Matt Jones from Arkansas back in the day when he went to Jacksonville.
See, watch me sound like a professional analyst right here.
Okay.
He can make all the throws. He can make all the throws. The problem is that he does float the ball a little bit. So the further the route, the more that ball hangs in the air a little bit. So that would be his downfall. But that's when you get somebody to the right team. Cole Payton, he's not my sleeper, but I've heard a lot of people talking about him, North Dakota State quarterback. A lot of people are unfortunately comparing him to Tim Tebow. But I think that a Tim Tebow could work in this era of football with the one read and
Tim Tebow was 48%. He was only throwing it to Decker and Demerit.
Well, I think this guy is better than Tim Tebow in the NFL. But I'm just saying, like that's the thought behind him. That strong arm, big body.
Size? Was he 230?
He is.
Give me 235.
Give me a second here. He is 6'3", 233. And he ran a 4.63.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
right now he's projected to go into the 5th round.
Those are
But
linebacker measurables, by the
but a couple of weeks ago, people were talking about him sneaking into the 1st round. I don't know if he'll do that, but we'll see. I'm not being biased, but I'm representing the 210, representing the Alamo, Robert Henry Jr. from UTSA. You know, saying I remember that game against Texas A&M to start the season last year, 177 yards. He led the nation in yards through the first 5 or 6 games of the season. Your guy, right? Here's a sleeper for you. You'll appreciate this. Omar Cooper. You know what I'm saying? The toe tap against Penn State. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep him in there because guys that can make plays like that belong in the NFL. So, you know, I got him on my sleeper list. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets took him in at that second receiver spot that we were talking about. Chris Bell for
passing. Yeah, I think the passing game is changing things up. Like, I got a sleeper.
Yeah, go for it.
David Bailey out of Texas Tech.
Okay. See, I don't know if he's a sleeper, though, because I've seen people put him in the top 4.
People putting him up there, but as far as like when these conversations are coming about, I think he could end up, I know 10 is not low, but like 10 to Cincinnati. Because
it would make sense.
The experiment they had last year with Stewart didn't really pan out.
Hendrickson's gone.
Let's get another guy in there, or maybe they want to shy away from it because they messed up last year and they want to go to something different. But yeah, I like that.
Yo, if the Miami Heat pull off this game, man, like
they are the play-in kings.
Yeah. I was going to say when we got to the NBA, I guess I'll say it now and I'll say it again then too. But the play-in is basically the Miami Heat Invitational.
All roads go through South Beach.
Yeah. Then we got Chris Bell out of Louisville. I like him a lot. He isn't the best route runner, but he's just one of those guys where, and this is not real analysis per se, but he's one of those guys that when you watch a game, he just stands out to you. Like I talked about this a few years ago when I went to the Bengals and Broncos game and Jermaine Pratt was just everywhere the ball was. There's just some guys that just stand out to you. Like, and he's one of them. Antonio Williams out of Clemson, but like most Clemson receivers, what's the problem? Injuries. He's a little smaller than I thought, but he's a playmaker. Chris Brazil, you remember him out of Tennessee, the big 6'5" receiver that caught the passes against Georgia where the DBs kept falling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to see him put some
steam route.
Yeah. I want to see him. He's 6'5". I want to see him put some muscles on those legs, though. Brennan Thompson out of Mississippi State. He could be that next Xavier Worthy kind of guy. 4.26 in the 40,054 yards. At Mississippi State.
We haven't seen it work in the NFL because of the reroute.
Right. But I think it's different now.
The ability of the guys to reroute these smaller guys because me and my son, he had an invite to Temple, went to Temple last week. He did his measurables. So he sent them to me. And I was kind of like just sitting there killing time while they were going through practice and everything else. I put it into, an AI model. And I was like, hey, what is the prototype recruited at this height, or size or whatever for college? So then it gave the breakdown to how it transitions to the NFL. Well, a lot of guys who could be linebackers, who could be safeties or linebackers are probably in the NFL 6'1" to 6'3", about 225, 235. So I can have you playing in space or I can have you down in the box. Well, with defensive backs that big, having a tiny wide receiver in the slot, because that's probably where you want him, because a good corner, a Joe Hayden, Hayden or Ramsey or one of these corners getting their hands on like one of these undersized kids who just fast, you're never going to get off the line. So you want to move him inside. Well, now he has to contend with a guy who could be a safety, but he's playing linebacker, a guy that could be a linebacker who's playing safety. You got to get off of that. So, like, if the Xavier Worthy, I'm going to still call it an experiment because I feel the same way about John Ross in his 4.22.
Right.
It has to be more than that. You need a little meat to be able to, like, balance that out. And I think That's the worry with the undersized wide receivers. They're fast in space, great probably punt returners. And if the kickoff rules were better, they'd be more of an asset. But I'm like, the way the kickoff is set up, you kind of alleviate them. So you put a guy back there that can just basically catch the ball and not fumble it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very it's very limited for where like the small wide receiver can really make an impact in the current NFL.
All right, so I'm gonna go through the rest of these kind of rapid fire style.
Right.
So Eli Stowers, tight end, Vanderbilt, Malachi Lawrence, UCF. He's an edge rusher, 22% pressure rate. Up there with Ruben Bain, just right on his heels. Josiah, you love Josiah's. Josiah Trotter, the son of Jeremiah. Led Missouri in tackles this year.
Grandson's name. Yeah, we in there.
Kyle Lewis, out of Pitt, he might end up playing that Buda Baker kind of position where you're not quite a linebacker, but maybe you're not so fast to be a safety. He defends well in the slot, even against slot receivers. So I'd like to see how that goes. Kendall Daniels out of Oklahoma. Genesis Smith, a safety out of Arizona. Will Lee III out of A&M. He's a corner. I think he's in that Terrion Arnold mold. Maybe not as athletic.
These are your draft sleepers, or your
these are just sleepers in general. Like
draft. Okay.
Whenever they get drafted, like some of these guys are going to get drafted day 3. Some of these guys are going to get drafted day 2. Emmanuel McNeil Warren. You brought him up earlier, safety out of Toledo. I am not saying this just because I am a Cornhusker, but Emmett Johnson, running back out of Nebraska. Great out of the backfield, led the Big Ten running backs in receptions last year. Charles Demings is my FCS guy, corner out of Stephen F. Austin, 6'1", 4'4", 140. He's more of a zone kind of guy, needs to be developed in that man sake, but he could be a good nickel back for somebody. And then you'll love this one, Mr. Logical. Actually, I'll save that for last. Red Murdoch, linebacker out of Buffalo. Said I think he's going to lay people out if he gets on a team. And then here you go, Mr. Logical. Bryce Lance, brother of Trey. Wide receiver. Yeah, he's a wide receiver, 6'3", 204. You know what I mean? I think that he can carve himself out. Adam, I'm thinking about wrestling now. Alec Pierce, type role potentially. I don't think he's going to come to the team sleeper-wise and come take over the league or anything like that. But I think he could be a value player for somebody down the road.
Yeah, the draft, I think there's we got 255 to 258 picks, somewhere in that general range with compensatory picks.
I want to say like that. Yeah. It's 249 traditional, and then you add those on.
Yeah. So you're probably looking at maybe 18 to 25 guarantees. Like this guy is it. A lot of it's probably situationally based. A lot of it always seems as if every year, and we're going to hear it this year, we're going to hear with the podcast, we're going to hear it even more. But your Mel Kiper Jr.'s, your Todd McShay's, the Mike Tannenbaum on the ESPN is always coming up with some cockamamie thing. Honestly, it's about fit. It's about fit. It's about drive. Like I was talking to my son that we had a 7-on-7 football tournament. He had a 7-on-7 football tournament down in Maryland. I was his chauffeur and his financier. But I talked to him about his own personal football journey. It's listen, you never had anything handed to you. Some people just go to the best school. Some guys just end up at a school with a bunch of talent. And it's oh, you're a great linebacker because you got 4 or 5-star defensive linemen in front of you eating up double teams every single play, and you're allowed to shoot the gap. But that guy who went to Buffalo, the guy who went to North Dakota State, the guy that went to UTEP or UTSA at one of these smaller schools that had to transfer from a junior college, those guys who really got out of the mud, I don't know if those guys get highlighted at the top of the draft because it's just easier to pick the guys who have the measurables, who've had these accolades since high school.
Well, I think a lot of people go
those pads on and that film on. It's hey, yeah, it's cool you ran a 4.22, but can you get off this jam at the line of scrimmage?
Well, I think a lot of people go
irrelevant.
Big Ten, SEC, sign me up. I think that's what the draft comes down to a lot of the time.
Of course.
And then
national championship teams, winners, like winner, runner up. So that's those are the two teams that have. Like it was a year where Texas had 3 players get drafted. Texas always has talent.
Yeah, they got Anthony Hill this year that we didn't even talk about. You know,
the college football playoffs. All of a sudden, they got the most players in the draft drafted out of that team. So,
all right. Well, here's
pretty lazy, and I guess.
Before we close this up, you ready for your stat of the draft?
Let's hear it.
So I mentioned earlier that I think Caleb Downs is possibly the best player in this draft, right? He reminds me of an Antrell Roll kind of dude. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? But we were talking about, could Washington take him at 7? So here's the stat. Only 6 safeties have gone in the top 5 since 1967.
Really?
There's got to be some good safeties. You know, your Kyle Hamiltons, you know, your Ed Reeds. Like,
was he? I think Cam Chancellor might have been like, I don't think he was a top pick either. I think he might have been like a 3rd round pick. I just remember it might be in line with like running back where you
so
think
so like, we got Sean Taylor, Eric Berry, Eric Turner, Kenny Easley, and Benny Bleeds.
Since 1963?
1967.
1967.
Yeah. So
that's, I don't know. That's pretty shocking. I imagine we probably had more offensive tackles go number 1 overall in that time frame.
Something like that. Yeah, that makes sense to me. You know, and Ricky Dixon, you know, to the Bengals. You know, so yeah, so there you go. But Mr. Logical, you know, saying as we get into this, the Miami Heat Invitational is in progress. You know, the Heat have made the play in the last 4 years, and they generally make the playoffs, by the way. So here we are right now. They're at Charlotte, you know, one of the hottest teams in the league. You know, they said that after January, I got this one from, I believe it was Kevin O'Connor, that the Hornets since January would have been on a 55-game pace, like a 55-win pace, you know, if they would have played out a whole season based on how they've played since then. But here we are, 1:02 left. The Miami Heat with an injured Bam Adebayo who hasn't played since about 4 minutes in the second quarter. The Miami Heat are up 3 on the Hornets. And, you know, LaMelo Ball's bringing the ball up the court right now. 47 seconds. I'll just run down this real quick. Brandon Miller on the perimeter, guarded by Hero. Back out to Melo, 12 on the shot clock. Defense comes up. Melo passes it to Miller. Melo pass, Kobe White. Grant Williams in the corner. No shot. And then there you go. Miami getting fouled, going to the free throw line. 28 seconds left. So with that being said, Mr. Logical.
I heard the whole, I don't know if Detroit wants to see Charlotte in the first round. I've seen a lot of those conversations.
Oh, Detroit definitely wants to see Charlotte in the first round. You know what? Because, like, they hate each other, but Charlotte doesn't match up with Detroit well at all. Because even the advantage that LaMelo gives you, Cade Cunningham takes that away. You know, he's one of the other few point guards.
Cunningham.
Right. You know, that's the same size as him.
Guards are, same size or bigger than him,
Yeah, and then, you know, you got your Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, who can guard, you know, your Concanipple, your Brandon Miller, you know, take them away, at least one of them, on a given night.
Forget, we talked about this with the great prognosticator LeBron James talking about the fouls and how aggressive you can be in the playoffs. Concanipple, you might have to like fight off that hand check a little bit more. You might get a little bit more. You might not be able to come off these screens and these pin downs and get open looks, especially with every series being 7 games. if a team figures you out by game 3, and they end up going up 2-1. So we'll just go hypothetically. We'll go a matchup that you might like. We'll go Detroit Charlotte. If Detroit wins games 1 and 2 at home, and they like, you know what, we got these guys figured out. It's just a matter of like sticking to our keys and hitting our shots. We'll win this series in 5, maybe 6, because maybe they have a great shooting night. That has to be frustrating. Whereas like you can't keep calling the same plays. You can't switch up the language of the play because you've been calling them all year long. So if the play is called Arkansas and they've been defending it all series and you're 3 games in, this is first half game 4, and they've been defending the hell out of Arkansas, is like, what else you got? And I think that's the thing with the NBA playoffs, especially why we don't get the Cinderella in the NBA playoffs.
Well, that's why when I was
got this figured out. We know what you like to run. We know what this down screen means. We know what this point means.
So that's the kind of the problem, because I was talking to Rez and Jack on Say Less, Say More, and I told them the problem that I have with the NBA is I don't know who's good. Because most of these teams that make the playoffs just won a lot of 3-point contests throughout the season. So, you know what I mean? So from the standpoint of, we used to be able to go, you can't stop Stockton and Malone in the pick and roll. Reggie Miller is going to come off this curl, but you don't got to worry about most of the other players on that team to kill you offensively. Maybe Rick Smith's down low, but not to the point where like you're afraid of it. You still don't want Reggie to get loose. You know what I mean? Like, don't let Shaq get the ball down low. Hack a Shaq. So now we got to pick our poison. Is it going to be Kobe taking over the fourth quarter, or are we going to let Shaq, maneuver and try to get the ball out of Kobe? So you were able to do that stuff. Like nowadays, it's like, well, Miller and Knipple, one of them is going to take a 3. So we just got to chase them off the line.
Yeah, chase them off
you know what I mean? Yeah, and Brandon Miller just hit a 3, by the way. So 1-point game, Miami getting the ball. But as I was looking at this, Mr. Logical, and I got to shit on him one more time. So I came into this season huge on the Orlando Magic. And, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about how Jamal Mosley is probably going to be out of there, right? Him and Banchero kind of subliminally hitting each other in the media. So I thought to myself the other night, all right, Orlando, you're playing Boston. Boston's not playing anybody right now. You know what Orlando did, Mr. Logical?
Went out there and Reggie Miller did just.
Oh. Not only that, Mr. Logical, this is what they did specifically. Luke Garza, Baylor Shireman, Ron Harper Jr. combined for 84 points and 25 rebounds.
They had a bam on them.
And Orlando played their starters. So Mosley's gone regardless of what happens, I think. But I don't think it's his fault. I think it's a philosophy standpoint. We were talking about the Raiders earlier. You know what I mean? Like, you can get a Paolo Banchero, but it doesn't matter if you don't give him parts around him to play off of.
Also, in basketball, it's different because we can look at Carmelo Anthony's career and say he wasn't as explosive off the ground as Kobe or LeBron. He wasn't as like dynamic with the ball in his hand as like a guy like Dwayne Wade, or he wasn't a matchup problem the way KD is because of height. But Melo got busy.
Yes.
All the time. And I think Banchero is probably more in the build of Melo. I think if he would have watched Melo tape the way Kobe watched Jordan tape, like, yo, can I apply what Melo was doing in the league? Because I think I'm a lot like him. Paolo's not above the rim guy. He's not pull up 3. He's big body, 6'8", 6'9". Look what Melo was doing. Melo top 10 all time at points when he retired because he got to it regardless of who was around him. He could get open in the phone booth. That was the thing that we talked, but that's a craft. That's an effort to make yourself better as a player. if you just want to go out here and play the same way Cade Cunningham is playing, or you want to play the way LaMelo is playing, but that's not what you do, the coach is just going to be collateral damage. Personally, I'd move the player because I think another team will see maybe we can get something, and I would get some pieces back from another team and try to go.
Well, that's the other problem is that
into the playoffs.
But that's one of the problems because earlier this year we were talking and I said, man, this is probably Franz Wagner's team now. Like, I think Banchero's still better, but they're essentially the same dude taking up the same space. They don't have a point guard still. You know, the shooting didn't improve. You know, they got Desmond Bane, who's had a great season, but otherwise, you know, there's not a lot of great shooting around. So it doesn't matter who you bring in at head coach if you don't fill the team out. Yeah, and so now
to make the meal, it's like it's gonna be lacking.
So now, why does that matter? Because now tomorrow night they have to go to Philadelphia instead of having Philly at home. You know, now Embiid is out, you know, with the appendicitis, you know, so get well, Joel, you know, but I'm still not sure that Orlando can win that game.
Put that on a shirt ASAP. Let's trademark that.
Get well, Joel.
We got April 14th, 10:01 p.m. You said it. We're gonna get a trademark. Get well, Joel. I'm selling them next week out at Wells Fargo.
You know, but like so it's one of those things where I don't even know if they could win that game because laugh all you want, but Paul George has been on a tear the last month. You know, Maxey, you know, is unstoppable. So, like, I'm not sure Orlando makes it out the play-in or even gets to the second game of the play-in. So, you know,
so this
I don't know.
You got to refresh me on it. We got the 9-10 Charlotte.
Or actually, I guess it's the other way around. Yeah. So this is 9-10 that we're watching right now. So the winner of this game, the loser is out. The winner will play the loser of Philly Orlando.
Okay, so Philly Orlando winner gets
Kobe White. Oh, what a shot! What a shot! Falling out of bounds, coming off the curl. You know what I mean? 10.8 seconds. We got a 114 game, folks.
Kobe White is hit a 3?
Yeah. So whoever wins this game gets the other loser.
7-8 winner becomes a 7 seed.
Yes, and then the winner of the other game
plays the loser of 7-8. Okay,
and then that team, whoever wins that game, becomes the 8. You know, so I don't know. Like, so as I look at it, the West is really interesting because you know we got Phoenix and Portland about to start here shortly. You know, Mr. Poke Bears. You know, and then you got Golden State and the Clippers in the other game. This is where it gets interesting for me, Mr. Logical. You ready for this journey?
NBA is Adam Silver's probably thinking, I wish the time zones were flipped. Because the West has all the star power in every position pause that he needs them in. He has KD and LeBron in a 4-5 matchup. He has
Jokic and Ant in the 3-6.
Jokic and Ant in the 3-6. 7, 8, 9, 10. You could probably get rid of 8. 8's a good story if their coach wasn't also kind of involved in a game.
Well, you know who their interim is, right?
It's Thiago Splitter.
Yeah, yeah.
Against his former team. But I don't know if that really resonates. If it was Manu Ginobili coaching them, going up against the Spurs, I think people will be like,
yo, that block that LeBron had on him is so disrespectful.
On Thiago Splitter? Yeah, but he turned around and flexed to the crowd, and I think Dwayne got a layup out of it. But that's his claim to fame. But the Clippers and Golden State elimination game is like that's what you asked for as a commission when you set up this thing. Because you and I,
right, here we go, Tyler Hero, going to overtime.
We had this conversation, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, because you hated the plan, and I
liked it do.
For I like it for the fan experience, just because it's like teams aren't just fully packing it in. So
the one thing I will give the play-in even though I'm not a fan of it. The one thing that I will give it is that if you could get one of these guys like a Steph in it, it becomes must-see TV because now it's win or go home. You know what I mean? And you're putting a guy like Steph in that position of
a marquee face on your experimental playoff.
Right. But one of my biggest problems with the play-in,
that shit every year seems like, except for the year they won it.
Well, one of the problems that I have, of course, is the Clippers finished 3 games behind the 8 seed. The Warriors 5 games behind the 8 seed. So why are you here? But here's a journey for you, Mr. Logical. Over the last month, we've been talking about tanking a hell of a lot. So this is what's on the line, Mr. Logical. If Portland loses and doesn't make the playoff, they keep their first round draft pick. If they make the playoff, their first round draft pick goes elsewhere. The Clippers. If the Clippers make the playoff, their first round pick goes to Oklahoma City. This is leftovers from the SGA trade. It was unprotected.
SGA, Paul George trade. Yeah.
But if the Clippers lose, they keep the pick. And then on top of that, Steve Kerr has come out and said that Steph Curry and Al Horford are going to be on a minutes restriction. Are we tanking in the play-in?
They won't be there. I got Steph had 4 chips? Steph, Steve Kerr has 2, 3 as a player and 4 as a coach.
At least 3 as a player, and 4 as a coach.
Bulls, maybe 1 with the Spurs.
You got 1 he hit the shot with the Spurs. Yep.
So it's like, no man, let's go get this vacation started early. Costa Rica's calling, Dominican Republic's calling, Mexico's calling. I mean, let's get a nice.
So are you taking calls for Jimmy Butler?
I don't know if you can take calls for a guy that's not 100% though.
Well, not right now, but I mean, in the off season, like, do you try to shop him?
You got to go ahead and call the baby ugly, and just start this whole thing over.
Yeah.
So I think arena, you have the new fan base. You're gonna be post LeBron, post Dwayne Wade, Miami Heat for the next couple of years. Like you gotta own and I don't know because I don't write any of the checks. I don't balance any of the budgets. I don't make any of the decisions for them financially. But as an objective person looking from the outside in, you might have to lock yourself into this ideology that you're going to be the team that had all the superstars. You maximize that as much as humanly possible. And now you're going to, because you're already playing near the bottom of the pack with all these guys. I think Steph is probably somewhere near 55 million this year, if not closer to 60.
Sounds about right.
I imagine Draymond is probably plus 38 to 40 million, and he's giving you a triple single. Jimmy Butler is probably getting a nice little check, but he's also, on the downside of 30. So it just has to be this thing where someone's.
Right, let's look at this. So Steph is at 59.
59.
Jimmy Butler's at 54.
I didn't realize it was even that close. I had no idea he was getting over 50.
And then you forgot somebody. Remember, at the trade deadline, they went and got Porzingis.
And Porzingis is running around what?
Porzingis is at 30. Okay. Yep. Draymond's at 25.
Oh, that's the best deal you got. But that 25 million is you get about $12 million of performance out of it.
So their total payroll is $204,744,000. So
cut was that.
So Porzingis is a free agent.
110. Yeah, you have to cut 180 million of that.
Yeah, Porzingis is a free agent. Horford has an option.
Horford our age.
And then Yeah,
Horford
that's
went
really
to
it.
college with a bunch of guys that are retired doing podcasts right now. So
Well, no,
that shows
Horford
how
went to
old he
college
is.
with a bunch of dudes that have been retired for almost 10 years now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like, when did Jokic, when did Joakim Noah retire?
I don't know, but I see him on podcasts with a beard talking about smoking weed all the time. So he's
Corey
definitely not.
Brewer,
Mike
yeah.
Miller's been a coach at Memphis for a handful of years. It's like
Yeah.
that
Oh, and the Blazers
hourglass
pick,
has no more sand in it.
and the Blazers pick goes to the Bulls, by the way, if they win and get into the playoff.
And
But as far as playoff thoughts, we're not making predictions right now. Say we'll save that for our next show. But just early thoughts. What are you thinking about? Anything excite you? Like, you see some outcomes that maybe you didn't see before.
Luka was gonna go to Germany and get some Harry Potter like magic on his hamstring.
So according to Kevin O'Connor again, he's in Spain this week and is expected to be back in LA by the end of the week. Doesn't mean he's going to play, but maybe we'll see how he feels after game 2.
He's getting suits tailored in Spain right now just to bring him back.
So are you excited for this LeBron Durant thing?
I think it's going to be cool. Without Luka and Austin Reeves, I think Houston has a real shot. But I'm not sure. The coaching matchups are pretty much the same. And it's a wash because I think they're both going to do the same things poorly. I think they're going to both get under the skin of their team. I think they're both going to antagonize the refs. I think they're going to antagonize each other. And I'm not sure if their tutelage is going to be the thing that wins you games. Whereas, you knew definitively, Eric Spoelstra, the game's in overtime now. I don't know what the score is. I don't have it on my TV.
Hornets are up by 5 with 1:33 left.
Okay. Spo's going to talk to those guys right now, down 5 in a timeout huddle with a plan to score 6 points.
Yeah, they're actually in the huddle right now.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to have a plan to get them to 6 points. It won't be you not doing this. He's not going to be pointing fingers. Even if it doesn't happen, he's going to have a plan to get you there. I think Udoka and JJ Redick are going to be like those kind of coaches that just kind of don't sub out when a guy needs a break. They're going to stick to whatever they think should be working. And when it doesn't work, they're going to go to the podium and blame the media for bad questions. So LeBron's going to have to play like his 2014. I'll give him 2018 LeBron. If he goes 2018 LeBron, I think you got a shot.
I don't think it's in there. Did you see this dumb conversation about if the Lakers win this series, then it gives LeBron more points on his GOAT legacy?
The GOAT legacy conversation, no matter how I feel about LeBron, I think the conversation just every year that he plays is a realization that he is still probably 14 years older than your league superstar. He's 13 or 14 years older.
Well, he's still probably a top 20 player too.
And he's still a top 20 player. That's the real conversation. But none of that is going to drive your GOAT talking points if you are pro LeBron in the scope conversation. So I think the conversation is pretty much moot at this point. People can still have it. But the new one I heard is SGA comparisons to Jordan because of the stats. And I was thinking off the bat, aesthetically, it's not the same.
No.
There's no, I think he has a Converse deal. Be Like Mike is the ultimate shoe campaign, basketball campaign. I don't think Converse has the Shea way, trademark that, plan in their future because it's not the same. And I think that's the difference with he can all the accolades, the points, the 55 points from the 55% from the field and 8 or 9 or 10 free throw attempts a game and 31 points and being a 2 guard and all those comparisons and those accolades are going to line up great on a chart. But when you think about who looked the most like Jordan after Jordan is Kobe. And SGA looks
Well, you know,
nothing
it's
like
actually
Kobe.
kind of ironic. It's kind of ironic because I don't know if I can go direct one for one comparison here, but to me, SGA plays more like
James Harden.
Indiana Paul George.
He plays more like James
Like,
Harden in my
like he's
opinion.
not as above the
Dribbles
rim as
ball a
Paul
lot,
George was.
dribbles the ball a lot, creates contact, shoots through contact.
But I don't think he shoots the threes and the step backs and the things like that
but
in that
as far
Harden
as
way.
like the aesthetic, like if you looked at highlights back and forth of SGA and James Harden, a lot of it is especially the mid range. Because James would get to that mid range a lot, especially when guys started playing him on his hip, so he couldn't shoot the step back. He was still shooting fall away threes, and if he got touched on the hip, he would fall or like flail stuff like that.
Like when I
And
think of
get it. Like, if I can
SGA,
get points, I get points. If I can get the guy that's defending me in foul trouble in the first quarter, and you got to bring in the secondary defender, that's better for me. That's better for my team. That's better for our chances to win. So I understand it.
I guess the best way for me to think of SGA, and especially in context with Jordan, is he's what Scottie Pippen thinks he is.
But
you know,
like I said, we felt all year long like they were going to be the favorite. They didn't lose anything. The injuries didn't slow them down. San Antonio definitely has a real shot.
well, San Antonio, right? So look, I'm not a believer in duck and smoke, right? But San Antonio's a young team, you know, playoff wise. You know, like they got Luke Cornett, Harrison Barnes, you know, but for the most part, a lot of these guys first time, right? So they had a home game the other day against Denver. You know, they decided to sit Wemby. Denver only played Jokic for the first half. If the Spurs won that game, they'd have pushed Denver down to the 4 seed, which means that the Spurs would have played the winner of LA and Minnesota in the next round. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, versus now, theoretically, if Denver pulls this off, they get Denver in the second round and would still have to beat OKC in the Western Conference Finals.
They should have put themselves in a position to match up with.
Yeah, they only play one of Oklahoma City and Denver. Make Oklahoma City and Denver play each other in the second round, and then you get the one that survives and is all beat up versus you got to go through Denver just to get to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think San Antonio is so deep and so young, and they have so many guys that can make, like we talked about, like the Rookie of the Year run that they're on, and then the way that the rookie that they have. I don't know if obviously Dylan Harper, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the Rookie of the Year as far as winning it, but he
still had a great rookie season, though. Yeah,
great rookie season, 6'6" guard. You know, can defend, hard to. You know, he comes up with the second unit. Not many teams are running out a second unit lineup that can contend with a 6'6" young guard. You saw what he did to Tim Hardaway Jr. with that little move when he slapped him on the shoulder and went by him, got the layup and smiled. You know, a couple of Nepo babies pause. I just think it's fun. Like you know, dads played the NBA, both from, you know, so. But like having that kind of advantage when you get to come in with the second unit, I think San Antonio is poised and positioned to make the Western Conference Finals run and give because they give OKC fits. The problem is, can you do it 4 times in we'd have won about 11 days?
Well, I think that
won the game 7.
Well, I think due to their lack of experience. Oh, what a shot, Tyler Hero. So Hornets up by 2 with 23.5 left. When I think of San Antonio and OKC, I almost get, and it's a little different. Oh, Miami with the steal. You know, Hero. You know, say, all right, they got. Oh, he's going to shoot the 3 from the corner. Oh, he got fouled. Three shots at the free throw line.
I told you. What did I tell you? Eric Spoelstra was going to come up with the way for them to get 6 points.
But
every single time.
But obviously,
one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Obviously, I can't go 1-for-1 on this one because the Spurs have Wemby. But I almost think of it as Miami, Chicago. Remember that year, the Derrick Rose MVP year? They had beat Miami 3 out of 4 or whatever it was in the regular season. And then we got to the playoffs, and the Heat took them out in 5 games.
Well, the Heat had a definitive advantage that they could deploy in the playoffs.
So does OKC.
They have it like they putting LeBron on Derrick Rose in late,
and the refs not calling fouls.
And the refs not calling fouls. You got, like I said, you got to win 4 games in 11 calendar days.
Well, I think OKC just has the continuity, like in these close playoff games, because you got to remember the Spurs have a first-time head coach too, on top of being young.
Yeah, but the way that OKC and San Antonio played, and San Antonio seemed to have their number, quote unquote, throughout this year. I think that's still the same. Like,
okay,
if you play it the same, then it's a matter of, does this shot go in? Does this one not go in? Does this rebound get corralled by OKC, or does it get corralled by San Antonio? Whereas that Miami-Chicago series, it was like, all right, cool. Now we're going to put our big, hyper-athletic, small forward, power forward, center guard going for the greatest of all time on your seemingly undersized guard. Because I think Derrick Rose is probably like 6, we'll call him 6'2" to 6'3", to LeBron 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah.
And this was like young, active 20-something LeBron. That's the difference that made that series different. I don't know if you could put Chet on Wemby, and then Chet's going to turn into this stopper where he's not going to care about offense. He's just going to
but Chet might finish second to Wemby in Defensive Player of the Year. 8.7 seconds left.
Are you going to put him on there and just have him shut down Wemby and like, yo?
No, you ain't going to shut down Wemby.
That's what I'm saying. So like, I don't think there's like a thing that OKC can do other
but
than
this is the thing. So Tyler Hero hit all 3 free throws. 8.7 Charlotte. We got a timeout. Charlotte's going to be taking over. But I think where OKC can have the advantage is I think they can clog everything up because Castle can't shoot, Fox can't shoot, Harper can't shoot. So
Fox can beat you off the dribble if you get a good pick and roll.
He definitely can. But I think you go
that rotation to the rim.
But I think you can go.
Yeah.
But I think you can tell Wemby, go average 45 then. I don't care.
Yeah, but that's I won't say it's easy because it's a lot of points. But you got a guy that can finger roll from the half court.
Yeah, but he also settles for threes and takes a lot of jumpers himself. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. But they got to get through Denver just to get there.
4 times in 11 days. And the Western Conference is tough, and I think
we talk about how well Jokic plays against Wemby for whatever reason. You know what I mean?
If Wemby, I was watching the Shits and Gigs, this podcast that I like, and they were talking about how they have like another series of their podcast.
Melo with the layup,
adventurous stuff, and like they do MMA fighting. Well, one thing they did was like diving,
and the Hornets win. LaMelo gets the layup. Davion Mitchell comes down the court. Miles Bridges with the block. So there you go.
How many timeouts left? Well,
there you go. So Hornets. Yeah. So Hornets moving on to play the winner of Orlando and Philly.
But what I was saying, they did like a diving thing. And like he was like, yo, my body was hurting so bad after just diving into the water. That's what Wemby has to deal with when he's trying to battle Jokic. I know he does all this stuff with these monks, and I know he does a lot of workouts, but when it comes to just defending a guy who's so comfortable with contact, like not only is Jokic comfortable with contact, we remember in the bubble when he lost all that weight from like March to July, and it was like, oh, look at Jokic, he's moving around smoother. and it didn't help him. And he came back the next year like, hey,
like
man,
280 again.
I'm just gonna play like this. And he's been on an MVP tear ever since. It's like you got to contend with that. It's like White Shaq. Like you can talk about defending Shaq and his free throws, but when it comes down to you, every game you have to deal with him in the post, and it goes 4 games. Obviously, each one's going at least 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. Like when does your give a fuck to keep dealing with this guy hitting you with these elbows and shoulders? When does that run out? When does your will just kind of fade? Like I can't keep doing this.
Right. So then this Denver Minnesota series, they've locked up 3 out of the last 4 playoffs, topped off by Karl Anthony Towns' weird salute a couple of years ago. But the Wolves have made 2 straight Western Conference Finals. Anthony Edwards has a foot injury right now. They say it's similar to what Steph had. But, he's back and he's playing, so we'll see how that goes. Jaden Daniels back as well, so they'll have their pieces that they need to give the Nuggets a run. But, Mr. Logical, is the East going to be all chalk?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in the Atlanta.
3, 4.
I'm really interested in that Atlanta Knicks series because I think that the Hawks have a couple of guys, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander Walker, that could give Jalen Brunson some nightmares over the course of a couple of games. Where,
like I said, once they figure out he jumps for every pump fake, and now I'm getting him out of the game in the first quarter, and I'm shooting free throws, and Dyson has 2 fouls in the first quarter, or Walker has, each one of them is fouling me in the first half, and they got sent down. That's kind of stuff you kind of figure out. And with the Knicks having a guy like Brunson who has the ultimate green light and who has this kind of killer instinct, in these moments that's where it works, where you have these scrappy guys, Bridges, Josh Hart, Alvarado,
Anunoby.
You have these guys that play we're going to scrap together 40 points somehow between the 4 or 5 of us. He's going to get 8. This guy might get us 12. He might get 4 or 5 rebounds out of nowhere. Alvarado get a couple of steals. Like we're going to do our thing as a collective and get you guys 38 to 42 points if we can.
So what
two get the other 40, or 55 points, and we're in there.
So what I do like about the Hawks is, the veteran leadership, CJ McCollum, they've been a whole new team since he showed up. So, he'll kind of keep the guys focused, if you will. Jalen Johnson, I'm excited to see him in the playoffs. I had him as my most improved player last year coming into the season, but of course he missed the season. He's been the leader. And of course, Mr. Logical, I'm here to see Jonathan Kuminga. So, so I'm interested in that series. I think the Cavs in Toronto, I saw Cleveland as an 8-point favorite in game 1. So people don't expect a lot from the Raptors. Boston, I think I would like to see Boston and Charlotte just from the standpoint of, what's the word I'm looking for? Charlotte has Boston's former assistant as their head coach. So, that adds a little element to the matchup, Sean Lee.
And it would be like, what are we looking at? 62 3, 66 threes per game.
Okay, never mind. Take that away. I don't want that no more.
Yeah. I thought that was a piece you were leaving. So like, it's going to be the most. I thought you were going to say it was going to be entertaining.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think it will because
up and down, entertaining. It's going to be fun.
Well, I think the Hornets are just one of those teams that, like, because they're so young, there's always a certain level of excitement or, that they bring to the game. They play fast.
Melo plays the game like he's at the park.
Yeah, they play fast.
He plays
And
fast. He plays like, I know what the play
Boston,
call is,
Boston's the
but I just
veteran
want to.
team, you know what I mean,
Yes.
that is going to slow it down with the championship experience. So like there's a lot of
That'll
contrast
be
that
a
I think
very
work.
interesting sweep.
Yeah.
It'll be one of those sweeps where late in the third, the score is 96-91. Charlotte looks like they're really, they're keeping it close. And then the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, Boston goes on a 14-4 run
You
and
know
game
what's funny?
over.
As I sit here and watch this Phoenix and Portland game, I saw Dylan Brooks make the comment that nobody wants to play the Suns right now.
Yeah,
And
bro, you're in the wrong conference for that. If you're in the
bro,
NCAA tournament, that makes sense.
they
Not
are
in the
five and
playoffs.
five in their last 10 games. And he's talking about nobody wants to play us.
Yo, I blame social media. I think people think their tongues and their thumbs are the same thing. It's like, bro, stop. You don't have to do this. You're already infamous for being a prognosticator, an antagonizer. Like, just you already had that already. Like, you don't have to say dumb stuff so people talk
What
about
up,
you.
Riz?
Appreciate
Yeah.
it, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like Dylan, I want him in the playoffs though, you know what I mean? Like because you always talk about how a lot of these guys don't have personalities
I
and
want him on a good team in the playoffs to where I want him on OKC talking this stuff like this shit because they're gonna be playing a lot of games throughout the playoffs. And it'll make sense. It makes sense for Rodman in that three-peat with the Bulls to just be a crazy, you know what I mean, just personality wrestling and going to Vegas and linking up with Playboy models, stuff like that. Like that made sense for a guy who was going to be in the playoffs for all 4 rounds and be there when the Larry O'Brien trophy got hoisted. That makes
yeah.
sense. But you've been ousted in the play-in. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Well, see,
you
and
don't need that.
that's where, like, you know what I mean. I feel like Phoenix had a playoff worthy season this year, and this is where the play in is kind of that thing where why are we doing this? Like, we've already finished 5 games, 6 games ahead of these teams in 9 and 10, but people are going to want Clippers and Warriors. One of the two at least, just because of the market, because of Steph. Kawhi's probably been legit a top 3 to 5 player this season. So you got that going on. I don't know, what to expect from the Pistons. I don't want to do the thing where you just look down on them because you feel like they don't belong. Obviously they get through the first round. But if I'm Cleveland, and not just because I picked Cleveland to go to the finals, if I'm Cleveland, I really like my road. You know what I mean? I like playing Toronto first.
I don't know if you like the physicality of Detroit though.
I would rather, if I'm Cleveland, I would rather play Detroit than Boston, though.
Of course, well, Boston is the
creme de la creme.
So if we go back to
and we being disrespectful because the Knicks are sitting there like we beat them.
They did beat them. They
and we still talking about Boston.
But they also lost to Indiana, and it was it kind of they had a lot of wind in their sails, and then they put the sails down and let Indiana take over. That fourth quarter, they gave up all those leads. But with Cleveland,
beef stew.
I think, like I said, we'll go with the physicality of the playoffs because refs, you're going to get different refs, obviously, in each game.
They lose in every game. Scott Foster refs.
But the memo is allow Scott Foster. I don't know if he dislikes everybody or it just seems like he just puts himself. When I went to basic training, my recruiter told me if your TI doesn't know your name when you graduate, you did a good job. NBA fans should know referees' names, considering it's not like they wear jerseys or sell referee jerseys or do post-game interviews where like their names are like emboldened and based on the screen at all. It's like we know your name because you just have problems with people. Joey Crawford, Tony Brothers. What's the boy name that robbed the Kings that had the documentary say he didn't do anything?
Tim Donaghy.
Yeah, Tim Donaghy. So
Oh,
yeah,
so
Scott Foster.
best passer since or easiest passer since young LeBron. That's some high praise right there.
But that's probably due to the fact that he can see over anybody guarding him.
Yeah,
And he can see it like I think the calm comes from like, yo, I'm 6'8". If you put a 6'8" guy out here to try to guard him, it would go right by him. Like what he did to what's the dude named Jeremy Shawn, the British dude that dyes his hair all purple when he tore.
Yeah.
He was like, yo, you put this dude out here on me, like he's not big enough to guard me. I'm taking him to the cup every time I'm shooting over the top. That kind of confidence does translate. And like I said, they had a few bad runs.
Uh-huh.
They had a few bad years, and they kind of figured out like how it works. So I don't like Cleveland thinking. If I'm a Cleveland fan or I'm on the Cleveland staff, I'm obviously worried about Toronto because you have to work because you can't take a game lightly.
Well, yeah, you don't want to underestimate them, but Toronto's not beating me 4 times.
Boston, we saw it happen with Boston and the Knicks last year when they lost those games at home. We were like, oh, they'll be all right game 2. And it was like, yo, dog, maybe you should pull up off the 3 and just take 2 more dribbles in and shoot it from 18 feet.
You hear that, Mr. Tatum?
23 feet. Tatum can do whatever he wants, but I just wish that instead of taking the 4 step back threes that he takes, pump fake.
This will be a good one, yeah.
And get that guy in the air to bump you and shoot 2 free throws versus taking that step back and pulling up. Like, he knows you want the shot. Get the primary defender off you by getting him in foul trouble. And now you're at the free throw line because you have the ultimate green light between you and Jaylen Brown. Probably Peyton Pritchard have the ultimate green light anywhere on the floor. Everybody else has the green light around the arch. So let them get that shot off. Let Hauser and Derek White and all these other guys, let them get that 3-point shot off. You stay in the paint a la like SGA. Get the best defender in foul trouble. Now when you bring in young Harper, like Ron Harper Jr., let him get those 3-point shots off. I mean, it's a different philosophy, but like I said, it all works. And you have a guy who felt like he had an MVP season on your team as well. So I think Boston is sitting in the proverbial catbird.
So provided things do go chalk in the East, let's look at the second round for a quick second. So we just talked about Boston and New York. That would be the second round matchup if things go chalk.
Correct.
Would you rather walk into that series as Boston, or would you rather walk in as the Knicks that beat Boston last year? Okay, Tell me more. Say more.
Because I've been to the mountaintop. I've hoisted the trophies, and all those guys are still here. Whereas the Knicks are consistently climbing a new mountain. No matter how far they make it to the playoffs, especially over the last few seasons, the following year isn't the same. Either because they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year with Indiana.
Now, this chick on TNT or Amazon ain't nothing but legs.
But we didn't believe that they were going to represent the East in the NBA Finals. And the same thing happened a couple years ago, where they make it to a certain level in the playoffs, they come back, they don't. It's like a team that plays a part. They look good, they do the things well. They're in the biggest city, they're in the biggest spotlight, they're in Madison Square Garden. But when it comes down to it, they don't have the thing that gets them over the hump to the proverbial promised land that Boston has. Boston has 2 guys on the floor, 6'7", 6'8", that can give you 30 and defend you. They have a coach that seems to be able to move these chess pieces around consistently. I think their bench has offensive firepower. I think their role players have more offensive confidence than the Knicks. The Knicks role players are scrappy, but you can chase Peyton Pritchard off the three-point line all you want. But if you end up in the first row at TD Garden because you ran him off the three-point line and it's swing, 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 and now Hauser's wide open on the other side, that three-point shot still got taken. And if the Knicks have to come back down, they can't swing, swing, swing to a guy who's ready to shoot the three in the corner.
Well, see, but I think where the Knicks are underrated, and I think I would rather be the Knicks, just because, like, even though Boston has been to the mountaintop, like, you were the boogeyman, and I conquered you. So I have no reason to, huh?
Just like.
No, that's all it takes. That's all. They've only played once. You know what I'm saying? So like that's all it takes. But I've conquered you already. So like you're not the boogeyman anymore. You know what I mean? I don't have to look at you and go, "Can we beat this team? What if Tatum goes off? What if this happens?" Because now you got no Captain Drew. You know what I mean? You got no Horford. So some of your veteran leadership components are gone. You know what I mean? Theoretically. And this is, everything has to work, right? Everything has to play out. But I have Anunoby and Bridges who theoretically can match up with Tatum and Brown defensively, or at least make it a little tough for them.
Yeah, but Tatum can get 27 points. Brown could get 26. And Anunoby and Bridges might combine for 22.
That might happen. That might happen. But now you don't have anybody that's stopping Cat. If Cat shows up, you have nobody stopping him. And Tatum might get those 27 points, but he might go 9 for 24 to get them too. You know what I mean?
But he's also going to have 7 assists because he's going to pitch it to 2 guys who that's the thing that Boston has, and that's what they had those leads in those series last year. They just have the Anunoby, like I said, swing, swing, swing to a guy in the corner, and you're open. Boston, the shot's going up. New York, I don't know. And that's going to be the difference. It's the score is 66-57. Boston's up 4. Peyton Pritchard gets a good look at the 3. He's taking it. Come back down now. Boston's up 7. Alvarado gets the ball. He gets a good look at a 3. He's not taking it. And it could be a waste of possession. And you don't get a good shot. That's what I think happened in the Boston-New York series.
Yes, I think, we are going to get that series. Like I said, we'll do predictions on our next show, but I think that's a series that we deserve, first of all, as fans. But, I think we're going to get it as well. Is there any team in the play-in that you could see giving one of these higher seeds a little bit of pushback?
Nah, because they're in the play-in for a reason.
I heard somebody say today that, he thinks that Portland could match up well with the Spurs. And I'm like, well, yeah, wow. Matching up well is losing in 5. Like, because this isn't college basketball, right? In college basketball, say you could have a team and go, like Iowa, for example. I can go, hey, if Bennett Sturts is on, they can take down just about any team that they play. You know what I'm saying? But when I'm looking at the NBA, I can't go, hey, you got Devin Booker, so therefore, you're live to win this series. I can't do that in the NBA that way. So, but I do think that Charlotte offers, at least pressure, because you have to score to beat them. So I think they at least offer that, but I just don't think they match up well with either.
The physicality is different. Like you have a team. They have 2 guys that made, what's the number? 540.
Yeah, 545 or something like that.
45, 3, something like that. So between 2 guys. So they definitely shoot the ball. They definitely feel like letting it fly. But if the three's not falling, you're not getting the rebounds, and Detroit's getting runouts, or Detroit's getting offensive rebounds because they're shooting more twos and the ball's now bouncing all the way out to the 3-point line. Can you match that physicality? Because that doesn't go away.
Right.
Like having a physical advantage over another team, like nothing you could do alters that. And that's where I think Detroit has an advantage over probably most of the teams in the East. And I like Boston's chances against Detroit. Like I said, it's not prediction, but just because their philosophy on how and when and why they shoot the ball the way they do. It's like ingrained into their offensive philosophy. It's not like we watched, like, for instance, the Lakers. I'm worried about the Lakers because if Rui goes 0 for 3 on his first 3 threes, does he shoot the fourth one? Or does he try to kick it back to LeBron and then now, like, you got to try to make something else happen? Does Ayton make that little floater in the paint, or does it get missed and it's, rebound for Houston and they're running back up the court and Durant's getting an easy pull up? So, like, that's the kind of thing I've always worried about the Lakers all year long. It's like, are your role players given the freedom to take chances, take shots, make mistakes, and rebound, like proverbially rebound from that mistake by getting back on the defensive end? Or does your coach snatch them out of the game because that's not the shot you should
see?
have taken?
And on the other hand, if I'm the Lakers, if I'm looking at it from their viewpoint, Houston is the team that I wanted. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I can't play any. Well, no, even now. No, I'm saying like if you had to play a team without being whole, it would be Houston. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to go up against Jokic and those guys, running you out the building. Wemby, and we talked about the Spurs.
I think it's a slight chance that Houston can run them out of the building.
I don't know, but see the problem. But Houston at least
8-4.
But Houston at least offers you
every game.
But Houston also offers you, out of those teams, Houston is the one that you can't look at and go, I know they're scoring 100 points, or I know they're getting to 110. Now they might, just because my defense. No, I know, but that's the point. So, like, they might get to 110 because my defense is that bad. You know what I mean? But realistically, all things created equal, I can keep Houston to say like 102 to 98. I can keep Houston in that range.
What happens when LeBron needs a break?
We'll find out.
We go 12 minutes. So say he plays the whole first. I'm not sure
what
the JJ rotation is without Luka and Austin Reeves.
But I think Luka's back before the end of the series. I think Luka's back before.
They said that injury is typically 4 to 6 weeks. They said 2, but it's
if Luka doesn't play by game 4, Luka doesn't play by game 4, I would be shocked. Because
Austin Reeves is a grade 2 oblique strain.
Yeah, he's not going to be there. He's not going to be there.
So grade
like Austin Reeves, even if they win,
that's the rating for the strain of the muscle. So whether it's your hamstring, like that strain, or the oblique, it's not the location. It's like if you had a 3rd-degree burn on your hand or a 3rd-degree burn on your arm. It's the severity of the burn. So they have the same grade strain on different parts of their body. One's 4 to 6 weeks. The other one's probably not 2.
Well, even if the Lakers get out of this series, I don't think we see Austin Reeves in the next series. But I think Luka's going to try to give it a go. I know we saw James Harden try this, when he got hurt against Milwaukee, but that was the same series. You know what I mean? Where he got hurt and he was hobbled
and he was like, I'm gonna try to go,
right,
but not going for 10, 12, 14 days, and then trying to give it a go after you potentially traveled internationally. Like, it seems like a lot to ask for. But I've always had the same conversation we've always had with LeBron post post 2020 championship where they kind of started moving a lot of pieces is like, yo, at some point, someone's going to have to come in here and be consistently available to where this guy can just do old man basketball where he can just stand in a corner. He can't do that in this series.
Yeah. So
and they're playing every other day.
We'll see. But, we'll be back with predictions. He is the one and only world-renowned, world-famous, cool, calm, and collected. He goes by the name of Mr. Logical. He was born in Texas, raised in VA, and he's representing New Jerusalem, even though you would never know it when LeBron's on TV. Don't bring feelings to a back fight.
Don't do it. Simple tough. Let's go.
And then, of course, down here in the Alamo is your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw, the same way that Tyson Fury was doing whatever he was doing the other day. You know what I mean? Old man out there, but look, I was watching some of that fight and I was just like, what are we doing? Like you ain't got to do this.
Shout out to Jake Paul for just making boxing a comic show.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. This is Sports Reports as ordered. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. Check out Say Less, Say More. We are everywhere you get your podcasts. We love y'all. See you in a few days. Sports Reports is ordered. Out.
Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports report.